welcome to Chapter Select, the book club for video games. With you today, as always, myself, Jens, and with me, Randy Isbell.
Hello, hello, hello.
Randy, I'm so excited to hear all of your thoughts about the hot new game, Cyberpunk 2077. I've finished it. I know you're about halfway through.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm slow.
It's okay. I know we're all on different holiday schedules. So I kind of crammed it after, it came out, right? We did those couple of first impression recordings with Sean and the gang where we talked about it.
Yeah.
And we talked about the bugs and the controversies around it and stuff. And I then decided, well, I really don't like the way this game feels right now. It's not playing well. I've already had like a couple of quest-breaking bugs. I'm going to put it aside. And then I went on a Game Pass bender.
Yes, you did.
And then when I came back to it, the game had gotten at least one 20 gigabyte sized patch. But I'm finding it perfectly playable.
I'm curious, and I'm going. Do you still have your old system?
I do have it. I don't have it hooked up.
Okay, so I'm going to give you a challenge in these next 2 weeks.
Okay.
I would like you to download the Cyberpunk game on your old Xbox and attempt to play it. Because obviously that's what I'm hearing most, is on the base Xbox Series or Xbox Series X or whatever, or PlayStation 4s. That's where the biggest issue is with this stuff. Because I'm with you. I've actually haven't even, since the update, haven't had anything where I've ever had to reload the game. Again, you've completed the game. I'm 11, 12 hours in.
I've had 2 hard crashes over the 40 hours or so I've played it.
I haven't had any of that. I haven't had anything major happen. I've had a lot of minor stuff happen. Again, I'm getting really, really sick of characters talking over each other.
But this is, I think, a problem with the game design.
Yes.
But it's
not as much bugs and stuff. So I've had a few things where it'll load something up and all of a sudden a car has driven through me, or I've had a character get stuck in a car. I was going through the city trying to clean up a little bit of side quests before we got on here, and there was a random gang thing that I walked into, and one of the members is just chilling in a van. And the only way I could get him was I just blew up the van. Finally, I was like, okay, there. I've seen clips and stuff from other people having issues, but I will say personally, I have not had a lot of bugs since. So I will say I'm not liking this game at all, but it has nothing to do with the bugs.
I've got one Cyber Psycho quest that I cannot finish because there's basically the chat window that comes up where Regina tells you good job, never closes, and it never triggers her dialogue, so you can then never finish the quest, and in fact never accept or finish another quest ever again. So at that point you just have to reload. But again, the game autosaves so much that, you just jump back 2 minutes and just say okay, I just said to myself, I can't do this quest right now. My goal actually, I have now seen 3 of the game's 4 major endings, and there's one that I have locked myself out of by way of making bad choices. So I know I need to do one from scratch playthrough. So I'm basically putting the game aside for now. And when the next gen version is out and the game is actually finished, I think it's going to be a really good game. I'm going to pick it back up, and I'm going to do all these, district, clear all the crimes and clear all the gigs and all that stuff. I'm going to do a more completionist playthrough, I think, when the next gen version is done. For now, I'm perfectly happy having seen the story and just experienced the core missions and all the major side missions that relate to the main characters.
So no spoilers here, because I'm just curious.
Yes. No, I'll go up until the point that you want me to go. I mean, I think we talked about let's play as much Cyberpunk as we can and then regroup.
Yes.
So
there are, 2 acts, but the first act is so short, and then the second act is the whole rest of the game. And then you have after-game stuff.
The third act is it's not after-game, but it's basically past a point of no return.
Right.
So at the start of everything that you want to do in Cyberpunk that is not the main storyline, you need to do before the third act starts. So just so you know.
This is the first game that we've done that we can't just go, okay, we're at the end of this chapter, so that's where we're at. So, and we knew that coming in, that it was most likely going to be the case, and that's cool. I've just met Pan Am and done her main story quest, and then did some side stuff after that. So that's where I'm at. And it's actually the first time I've went outside the city, because I started as the business model. And it was really interesting to see Haley pick a different. I think she picked the Nomad, the one that starts outside the city.
That's
so
me.
It was very interesting to see that difference and not difference.
Yes,
it's not.
It's not as big a deal as, say, in Dragon Age Origins, where the first 4 or 5 hours of the game were drastically different based on the character you play.
20 minutes.
Yes. It's that, and then for the rest of the game, you will get class-specific conversations. Like, I had a lot of good conversation with Panam specifically, because Panam is a nomad, and I'm a nomad. So I got a lot of nomad-specific dialogue with her. So it does matter in that way. I'm sure that there's corpo stuff that you're seeing that I'm not seeing. I think I'm going to play a corpo next time.
It's been interesting to add a little bit of just where your character knows more and doesn't. Basically, that's all the corpo stuff is somebody will try to trick you, and then the corpo option will basically go, no, I know my shit. Nice try. Or this is how we're going to do it. I feel through about 11, 12 hours into this game, and I know there are 4 endings, as you said, but I feel like the idea of choice in this game is non-existent.
Yes. I will agree with you there. Apart from, so what matters in regards to choice is really your romance options and what ending you get. Those are the 2 things.
But in all of these conversations, 80% of the conversations I've had in this game give you conversation options, but only one of them progresses the thing. So the rest of them are just, do you want extra information about me or about the situation?
It's that old... I mean, that's one way to design a dialogue tree, right? Is you have 1 or 2 dialogue options that actually progress the conversation, and then you've got a bunch of, you want to exhaust all this extra info if you want the lore or the world building or the extra characterization. So I don't have a huge problem with that.
I'll just say, just straight up, this is not my kind of game.
Okay.
And I have learned that really quick because of that. Like, that stuff bores me. I don't feel like I am... I don't even think this story's good to begin with.
That to me is very standard for a role-playing game, that kind of dialogue system.
I couldn't get into Mass Effect.
Really?
No, I could not. It was
that is
not
shocking.
My thing. And it's for the same reason. I like the world of Fallout, and I really liked Fallout 3. Fallout New Vegas was pretty good, and I just couldn't get into 4 that much. But I love the world of Fallout, but I hate the way it tells its stories too. And to me, and there's so many points in Cyberpunk where it does this, where it just feels like you're robotically going through a conversation. And then people go, oh, the character was so great, and this stuff was like... I just had a situation in Cyberpunk in that same quest line. So your whole point with Panam is help her with her stuff, and then she helps you collect some dude. I'm blanking on his name right now. A doctor. And then you have a conversation with him. While I'm having this conversation, was actually one of my favorite conversations in the game so far, where it was a lot of backstory about how the chip with Silverhand has gotten into your head and how it works. And I liked that stuff. I was like, okay, now things are starting to make sense. While this is happening, the guy that you've told that you were doing this mission for shows up and literally takes 2 steps and turns straight to stand right next to him and look at you. Like he was a 7-year-old in his first Christmas play and was told that stand on this spot and look out in the audience and recite your line. Yes, and that's how this entire game goes. So I hate this storytelling.
I will disagree on just a nuance, I think, which is this is a lot better than a Bethesda game in this regard. I do think the dialogue, the conversations, the character models, generally how everything flows.
I'll agree there.
Is much more well done. I think it's also better done than in the very, you look at something like Deus Ex. Deus Ex is very similar, both in terms of setting and theme and often mission design as this game. It's difficult not to compare them, but there's also, of course, the Bethesda similarities. It's really just that kind of game. It's a CRPG. It's it's got your choice and your scripting and your open world, and it's got a little bit of driving, but the driving is really, it's even more. I would say the driving is one of the weakest things about this because it's like more perfunctory than in LA Noire even.
Which makes no sense, since my phone blows up every 10 seconds of some asshole telling me, go get this car. This game seems like it's so set around vehicles and collecting these vehicles that you think the driving would be better.
Yeah. Well, I guess my point is just this is one of those games where that stuff, like, okay, how cinematic the conversations are or whether or not the other vehicles even have AI, that to me is fairly perfunctory, like not as important as the things that make a core RPG. Mm-hmm. And I think in those regards, the story, the characters, the setting, I love the setting apart from the obvious visual glitches and just things like, whenever you're not looking at any kind of object, the object basically despawns. So you will catch objects spawning and despawning a lot. So, things like that.
You bring that up real quick. I just have to tell a story because I messaged you today because I was stuck in that spot at the gas station fight. And by stuck, I mean I died 2 or 3 times. But with kids around, I was like trying to fit in game time and family time here and there. So it's like I'm trying to get through stuff. Like, God, I can't get through this. I had so I turned it off for a bit, went and played something else, and came back later when it was lunchtime and the kids are eating, and I'm working on it. And I look, and there's nothing on the whole right side of this gas station. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to go around there. As I'm going there, 4 troopers and 2 drones spawned right where I was going. I'm like, why? So yes, it's just small stuff like that. So I will agree that this, like, technically and the way that the characters move is way better than Bethesda. So that one moment I talked about where the guy just stood there like he was in his first Christmas play happens sometimes. But I will say when you're talking to a lot of characters, they will move around, whether it's Silverhand or your buddy from the beginning of the game, or like Pan Am does a lot where like they're doing a lot of motions and stuff. And
the lip sync is basically fixed now. I mean, you remember I complained about the lip sync the last time we talked about this, and that's something that they patched.
But
where it's a lot better now.
Would it have been so hard? And CDProjektRed has done this because I've played a little bit of Witcher 3. I've not gotten past the first area because there were so many question marks, and I anal about that stuff. I was trying to get through it, and then I want to say Resident Evil 3 had come out or Final Fantasy VII Remake came out. It was one of those games I was playing it this spring before the crazy hit, and I never got that far into it. But they know how to do this. You go through this, they say the most complex character creator ever. I say it was the most generic character creator ever, but you can check out your dick.
I'm a connoisseur of character creators. This character creator did not even have sliders.
It was just pointless.
Here are a couple of preset options for your eyes, your cheeks, your chin, etc. So on the one hand, you could make an attractive character. I like the character that I ended up with at the end of the character creator. I have no complaints there really, but it really did not give me that much choice. And especially considering how much they hyped up the general options are quite disappointing.
Yes. So with the whole hype around the character creator, how hard would it have been for your conversations to then pop out to third person? Because you talk in third person in The Witcher, right? Am I not remembering that right?
Well, The Witcher is entirely a third person game.
So, but why can't you just pop out? I understand the whole, it makes you feel more immersed if you're always in first person. I hate that.
I don't even like to pop out the third person for vehicles in this game. I like to drive in first person because it's more, I don't want my immersion. Like the immersion is like a big thing with this for me. And I like the first person perspective. And I like that it's doing basically a slightly better version of, Bethesda RPG tropes. Mm-hmm. So I'm happy with all that stuff. But let's talk about, just decisions that they made in the game design. And you brought this up.
Yes.
Just a minute ago about the endless conversations and also the game's obsession with trying to push vehicles on you, because those two kind of go hand in hand for me in terms of what I want to talk about, which is this game has events that trigger. in the form of, phone calls, mostly, sometimes text messages that come into you, or just missions being advanced from one step to another. This is triggered either by progress in whatever mission you've currently got active, by a timer, which is triggered by something else that has happened, like another mission being finished, and then 10 hours of game time later, this character is going to call your cell phone, or proximity to things. Now, because these three events are all triggered by different things, those different things will then overlap. So you'll be in a main mission, and while you're in the main mission, you'll happen to be near one of those smart cars. What's this guy's name? Del Linroy?
Yeah, the robot-looking guy. Yeah.
Yeah, so one of the kind of subplots is there are 6 smart cars that have gone rogue, that are sprinkled throughout the city, that you're supposed to find and bring back. And, one of them has depression, and, one of them wants to race you, etc. They've all each got a different personality, and they're kind of hidden away. And sometimes there's either like a puzzle or a race involved with getting them, or, with the one there's like one that has anxiety that you have to drive him back carefully.
Oh, God.
That sort of thing.
I don't want to do that now. I have had him pop up multiple times. I've yet to do one of them.
Yes, so here's my warning with that. If you do not do them, then for the entire rest of the game, these missions will pester you every time you're near one of these cars.
Yes.
So you'll be in a main mission, doing something else, and suddenly this robot man, Max Headroom guy, will pop up and talk to you about, one of my cars is nearby. I've updated your map to blah, 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 blah. And just who? And then similarly, I agree with you about the fact that, and this seems to be triggered by proximity. So like when you enter a new area, there'll be merchants in the area that have cars for you, and they will text message you about the fact that there's a car in this area. And it's so irritating, especially because the cars range from, $20,000 to $200,000, and you really don't have that much. I mean, you've got enough money, I think, to get by through the campaign if you don't buy a lot of cars. But you would need $2 million or so to buy all the cars, which is a level of grinding that if it wasn't for the fact that there is a painting in the game that you get at the end of one of the side missions that you can sell for $4,000 and buy back for $5,
that's
then
funny.
It would be entirely impossible. Or it would require hundreds of hours of grinding to do that achievement, to buy all the cars. And why would you want to do it anyway when driving is completely perfunctory and the driving doesn't feel particularly good? And generally, you've got good enough cars pretty much from the beginning as part of the story to get anywhere you need to. And why am I still talking about this? It's ridiculous.
Not good.
But they need to fix this where, when there's a main mission going on, the other quests need to be disabled. Simple stuff like that.
So I have 2 extra things to bring up about the phone calls that drive me nuts. And
okay.
Again, I've played far less than you have. And I have more stuff
about the design that I need to rant on, but please.
But so my 2 things is so basically the same thing where people keep popping up. Yesterday when I was playing, I had the same person call me 3 straight times. I would get off the phone and she would call right back with 3 completely different quests. I'm like, lady, I'm busy. I will get to your first one later. Why am I looking for a freaker? And then why am I looking for this person? And now why do you want me to go find a car? Can you just chill for a second? The second one is how many times do you get called by somebody that doesn't even know who you are? Like I've been introduced to so many people that are like, hey, who's this? I'm like, hi, I'm this person. Hi, I'm V. Why are we having a conversation? I'm sorry, it's lazy. To introduce all these new characters like this, all of them, is so lazy.
It didn't, as far as the main story, that stuff didn't bother me. I mean, I guess some of these people are getting in touch with through...
It's almost all side stuff.
Well, that's just the fixers, right? So you're just building a reputation, and fixers will contact you about jobs. That's another type of thing that'll happen when you get into a new area. I can see why they did that, is they want to gradually reveal that content as you're exploring more of the map. But it does seem like there's a disconnect there, or at least, again, they need to not have that stuff step on each other. In the story, I feel like everybody that you call, it's like that, that corporal lady that you make deals with early on. Rogue once you meet her. Like, none of these people are introduced as, hello, who is this? It's more you're contacting them because you're trying to
how it should be. You should meet one of the guys that are in that mission and go do something with them, and then during that he introduces you to this person, and then they become a contact. It's like
that is what happens in the.
They don't. I've been called by 7 or 8 different people that I'm like, who the fuck is this?
But the run up to the heist is really you meeting all the people who are going to help you.
The heist is one thing. I mean, the heist. I like the heist.
Okay.
And the build up to the heist. And at that point, I'm like, this game is going to get interesting. I'm okay with this. After the heist is where I think it just falls apart.
I just don't know which. Oh, this is after the heist you're talking about.
After the heist, when you're driving around and doing all this other missions and stuff. Again, a lot of them are probably people that are trying to sell me cars and stuff. But
yeah, I think there's just a lot. Yeah.
You've told me after you beat the game, I was like, okay, focus on the side missions from this person and this person and this person. How do you know who it is? I have like 30 side quests all of a sudden. Most of them are car collection and stuff, but I'm like, I don't know what any of this is anymore. This is one of my they throw so much shit at you.
One of my biggest complaints. Okay, so this game basically has 3 different tiers of side activities, but then one of those tiers has really more tiers within it that are not revealed to you unless you pay attention. So you've got your NYPD scanner crimes, which is kind of basically like in Spider-Man or whatever, where there's just random crimes that are happening around the city, and you'll stumble upon them, and you'll shoot some dudes or slice them up. And once you've killed everybody in the area, the cops, call you and say, "Good job, you've murdered all the criminals." So that's kind of the lowest tier. Then you've got gigs, which are like minor side missions. They all come through fixers. They are completely unrelated to the main story, but they give you some nice rewards, and there's a lot of them to do, and they get super high level eventually. You get like gigs extra or something they're called, that are like you're close to or have basically beaten the game, so here's your end game gigs. Mm-hmm. And then you've got side missions, which are the bulk of your missions, and really a collection of your companion quests, which are side missions with characters that you can romance, which at the end of each one, an achievement will pop, regardless of whether you romance them or not. I think you can theoretically romance more than one of them, but I focused on. So I played a lady. So that basically made Judy the primary lesbian love interest. So that is what I pursued. I tried to pursue Pan but Pan is super straight and will reject you and will just want to be friends. But yeah, so you've got those kind of quests. And then you've got what is really an assortment of could be anything, like mystery side quests, some of which are almost essential as far as the world building is concerned, like one where you have to help the mayor, where the mayor thinks that somebody suspicious keeps breaking into his house, or he's seen people sneaking around his house, and he wants you to investigate what's going on, and you start to uncover some truly shocking things about the mayor and what is happening with him and happening in the city. And those kind of quests are the ones that feel the most like the best quests of The Witcher 3. You think of quests like Bloody Baron, the most obvious example, but, quests that would give you a big moral choice at one point and would surprise you and would have a thematic depth where, you'd really think about what you've done or what you've just experienced, or, the nature of these people, or how this tragedy could have been avoided, or whatever. Anyway, I feel that The Witcher, and maybe it is because The Witcher is based on those books by that author whose name I cannot possibly pronounce nor remember. But maybe because the world of The Witcher is just more conducive to that kind of storytelling, it felt like a lot of side quests in The Witcher were that, where, each side quest would have 3 or 4 different endings that you could get based on how well you did, if you found all the clues, if you made the right decisions. And I think I first fell in love with The Witcher 3. There was a quest where you have to deal with a haunted house with a ghost that needs to be reunited with an object to be put to rest. But then if you're paying attention, you will notice that the ghost is potentially malevolent, that there are suspicious things about them, and that maybe you shouldn't do this. And if you do free the ghost will then go on a rampage and kind of kill the remaining family members that you were trying to help. And, you realize that you've loosened this malevolent spirit onto the world. And, those kind of quests, it felt, it's a really melancholy, kind of sad, poignant ending to the quest. And a lot of them are very poignant. And those are few and far between. I think they're only... Now, admittedly, I haven't done absolutely every side quest, because a lot of them are get the car, or find all the graffiti, or find all the tarot cards, which, none of that stuff. That's almost like Arkham Knight level garbage, the tarot cards and the graffiti. Like, who cares? I'm never going to find all the joke. I'm never going to do all the Joker or Riddler stuff in those games either. But it just seems like most quests in this game they're more like Ubisoft quests. They're more like something that I would expect in a Watch Dogs, where it's just talk this cop out of pursuing a lead to protect her, and then you do it, and then there's never any resolution as to whether or not you did the right thing or what the result of it was.
Right.
Other than every now and then you'll get a text message with a follow-up, but a lot of these quests actually are quite open-ended. In fact, that major story with the politician is kind of open-ended, and it frustrated me. But that at least is one where I feel like if you haven't played that side quest, you haven't really experienced what Cyberpunk has to offer, because even though it's not Witcher level good, it is something where you recognize, oh yeah, CDProjektRed wrote this. But I mean, I don't know if I found it I wouldn't know how to tell you to prioritize. The only thing that really hints at it is looking at the descriptions and seeing.
Right.
Well, it tells you who the quest giver is.
Oh,
so once you know, okay, this character seems important, I should do any side quest by this character. That'll help for the major ones. But there's definitely side quests that looked like nothing, or that I only found by accident, and I wouldn't want anybody to miss them. Mm-hmm. Though I guess that's true. The Witcher 3 had that. The Witcher 3 had so much content that, you could have you could see totally different stuff in your playthrough than I would see in my playthrough, in a way. And I don't think that's the case here, just because, it's such a small game by comparison. It's not a huge map. And, the main campaign is something like 25 hours. The side quests are, I guess if you did all the gigs and all the police events, you'll spend about 80 hours in this game. But if you don't care about the really superfluous feeling side content, if you're not doing a completionist playthrough, you're going to finish this game in 40 hours. And it's not going to... If it was... I don't need quantity. I just need quality, right? Like, I don't really care about quantity as much.
Yes, same here.
Yeah. And I would much rather... I was actually excited when I heard that this was a shorter game. Because, I only have so much time in my life to do things, and I prefer a tighter, more focused experience. But it's not that tight or that focused.
Yeah, I guess a lot of my issues with this is just the overconfidence from CD Projekt Red, or the
Oh yeah, well they'd never done this genre before, they'd done RPGs, but they'd never done like a first-person shooter.
Yeah, they hyped it up.
They'd never done a driving. They're doing a lot of stuff for the first time here. So
okay,
very ambitious.
I want to get away from the story, because again, I have a lot of side questing to do and a lot of work ahead of me in the next 2 weeks. But so I want to switch it over to combat, and I want you to explain to me why I should not believe that this is just Borderlands combat wise.
Well, for one, it doesn't feel as good as Borderlands.
There you go, even better, because I do not like the combat in this game.
Well, for as much as I crap on Borderlands, I think the shooting is Borderlands' best feature. The shooting is definitely not Cyberpunk's best feature, even though I really love the weapons. I think the weapons look awesome, they sound awesome, and they are quite effective. It just doesn't feel very good. And part of it may be, actually the frame rate on the Series X is quite good, but every now and then it is inconsistent, so that may be a part of it. But I think a bigger, and then part of it may also be, your turning, acceleration, radius, all of which I guess I could tweak if I wanted to go into the menus and really fiddle with. I found out there's actually a developer mode, I think, when you press L3 and R3 at the same time. you'll get some more advanced options. So,
I need to
pro tip.
look into that. Because this game is too damn dark.
Oh yeah, well you can definitely adjust your HDR. You maybe you've got HDR on, but you're not supporting it. I don't know. Are you using?
We're playing this on the Xbox, so I'm playing it on my girlfriend's TV. So I don't know what setting she has it on.
Okay, well I don't know. Check your TV, man. I really don't. I don't understand. I've had this conversation with you about various games about like font size, where you're saying the font size is way too small. I think the font size in this game is pretty much perfect.
The text and stuff is, honestly, I think it mostly gets to me when I'm in the menus. And it's more, like the text size, I think, feels small to me because there's so much shit on the screen. And then my brain overloads, especially, and that's why I bring up the Borderlands comparison. I end up with 9 billion guns.
That's true.
And all of them will do something different. And like you go into your gun menu, and it's just like an overload to my brain of, okay. And then you're going through, and each one has a bunch of different shit on it, and I'm like, okay. But well, I'm getting into the guns a bit more as far as what can do what different things, and not just looking at the damage counter. But I feel like I have a decent arsenal now. But I'm with you. It doesn't feel good. I don't feel powerful. I don't feel like I'm making any contact with the gun at all when I shoot. I don't feel... I rarely feel that my controller vibrate when I get shot. There's a lot of times where I'm almost dead and go, what the hell happened? I didn't even realize I was getting hit. Or I will, the same thing will happen. I'm hearing all this gunshot. I'm like, oh, I have to be dead, and look up, I'm fine. It feels the same to me. And that's where I feel disconnect. It's just, my point of it being like Borderlands is, again, they have 8 billion different kinds of guns, like Borderlands. And all of the enemies are bullet sponges, that it just becomes a bit pointless.
I don't find them that spongy. I think once you've got good enough equipment, you can headshot dudes pretty quickly. I don't know what difficulty you're playing on. I'm playing on medium, or I did.
I forget what it was. It was either medium or the one above it. If there was more than 3.
I don't even remember. I just picked I'm a default difficulty guy first time round.
And it's not even that hard. They're not hard. I don't know how many times I've unloaded an entire clip on an enemy with a machine gun. And they're just standing.
There's some good machine guns in this game, man. Like, I don't know. I mostly just looked at the DPS, and I favored assault rifles and handguns, and just kind of picked the best ones of those. And then anything else, at first I would go and sell everything, except for the stuff I was using. And then once I exploited the money glitch a little bit, and it was just more profitable to keep selling that painting over and over again than selling your equipment, it just became anything I picked up that wasn't better, I would just immediately disassemble and get the components and craft more. I had an obscene amount of med kits at the end of this game.
Yeah, I've never been low on med kits, and I use them all the time.
Yeah,
I've been like down 30 health, and I just hit my health. I have so many. So I agree with you.
Yeah, I think the problem to me is, as far as what you're saying, the feedback when you're hitting an enemy is not that they take too much damage, but rather that they don't react when they're hit. Don't see them move, or bosses, and pretty much all the bosses in this game are just dudes or various forms of just a person with either a rifle or bare-fisted, who is doing has a couple of special moves, but it's really just like any other enemy, except that they're glitching around and doing, like, the boss fights in this game. It almost was right to hell Retribution level with the way the characters were moving, like bizarre, glitchy movements, not at all feeling like they were reacting to any kind of fire, just glitching through the world towards you in weird ways. And man, it's kind of embarrassing. But here's the thing. I will excuse a lot of this stuff away because it is CDProjektRed. I don't really... You
can't say this game is crap and then go, but I like the publisher, so I'm giving them a pass.
No. I'll let me just... Okay. I'll make this argument just this one time, and then I'll shut up about it. But CDProjektRed, when The Witcher 3 launched, it was a hot mess. By about a month in, The Witcher 3 was already a totally different game. A year in, The Witcher 3 is yet again a totally different game. And amazing in scope and execution and performance. They got, it's the people who are concerned. Okay, there's all these people who are saying this game will never run well on the old consoles. Like it'll never run well on a One X or PS4 Pro. When, CD Projekt Red are the studio that put The Witcher 3 on Switch, and it worked well. They put, have you seen The Witcher 2 on 360? It is an astounding accomplishment. So they have, if anybody has know-how of making, their games run well on hardware that shouldn't possibly be allowed to, run it well, I believe that they can do it. I just think they ran out of time. That's all it is, and I have complete faith that this game is good. Like, this is going to be a great game by this time next year. It'll be amazing.
I won't care. Then we should have done this next year. You should have released the game next year. I am in that boat of I'm done, and I've been done with companies like this. I hate Bethesda. The only reason I keep buying Bethesda products is because my girlfriend is obsessed with Fallout, and so we have to buy the new Fallout when it comes out, and it's always broken, and it's always clunky. I am done giving companies a pass for this. Because for me personally, I am the type of gamer that I play a game once, and that's it. I rarely go back unless we're doing something like this, or like years down the line, I get nostalgia for it and I want to try it out. I'm a huge Naughty Dog fan. There are very few Uncharted or Last of Us that I've gone back and played twice. I play it, I experience it, I enjoy it, I move on. When we get done with Cyberpunk, I don't care if it's a completely different game next year. I'm never touching it again. So this is your chance. And this is where I don't understand gamers. It's like, oh, just give it a few months, it'll be fixed. Give it a few years, or give it a year, it'll be fixed. I'm not going to a movie theater and watching a clunky-ass movie, and then when it comes out on DVD, they go, no, it's fixed. They made it better. No, you've already wasted my money. I don't want to do this again. And the fact that CD Projekt Red is out there going, oh, just believe in us and give us your trust. I did. I gave you your $60. It's not even that clunky for me. I'm not playing it on the base stuff. I feel bad for the people that are still having the crazy crashes and all of that. But get it right. This is why I applaud Microsoft and Halo, where they went, listen, we're not ready. So they delayed it a whole year. And Cyberpunk was not afraid to delay it. They delayed it multiple times.
Yeah, they should have delayed it longer, but
they really should have.
If this were any other company, I would completely agree with you in every way, shape, and form. It is just they have I have such goodwill for them, particularly when it comes to this stuff, that I just don't. And I think it's also just a matter in terms of people's general disappointment with this game. This game does not set the world on fire as far as game design goes. It's very much an old-fashioned one of those games. If you like this kind of role-playing game, then this is one of those, and I think it's a great setting. I quite like the story. There are definitely things in the story that I find questionable that we will be discussing, but overall I enjoyed it. And, it's probably going to be on my top 10 this year, somewhere towards the bottom. Because I just think it's a good one of these, apart from
and the listen, fact I'm burying into this game, and I'm being critical. And I want to say I have nothing with the developers of this game. I don't think it was their decision to release this in the state it was, and it was the pressures from up above. So and all of that. And like you said, if they're gonna fix it, that's great. And I think they believe in this product, and they will make it right eventually or whatever. But for one, this is just not my kind of game.
Sure.
And that's okay. Not every game has to be my kind of game. And and honestly, when we do the score on the next episode, I'm probably still going to give this thing probably about an 8. Because while I'm not enjoying it myself, I can see why other people enjoy it. It's just not my cup of tea, and that's totally cool. Not every genre. That's what's great about video games or movies. There's so much out there that we're gonna find something we like. And
we shouldn't spoil. Let's not announce any.
Well, I'm not,
you're just predicting an 8.
I'm projecting an 8, but again, if I was projecting Binary Domain the first episode, it would not have gotten an 8.
Right.
So who knows how I will feel after another 15, 20 hours of this. But
I mean,
I will say that out of the other games that I've tried to play that play like this game, like you have said, it has done nothing to change my mind on this genre, and it has done nothing game-changing. It has taken different bits and pieces of other games and then tried to mix it all together. But then they promised the greatest character creator of all time, which is a complete joke. It promised the greatest immersive world of all time, yet you can go and play Grand Theft Auto 5, which is a 7 or 8 year old game, and it has way more stuff to do than Cyberpunk has to do. So I think they overpromised for a game that turned out to be decent to okay.
I think it's pretty good. But I have one more. I want to shit on one more thing. Speaking of really terrible, like this is a really minor thing, but it's super annoying to me because I've skipped dialogue by accident as a result of it, which is that they put skip dialogue and crouch on the same button, namely B, and you'll often find yourself at the beginning of a cutscene crouched because you're just coming out of stealth or something, and you want to uncrouch, and instead of uncrouching, you will skip whatever the next dialogue is.
And the exact opposite. I had a conversation at one point where the two other characters are crouched talking up a plan, so I wanted to crouch with them, and it wouldn't let me.
But this is not, this is what I'm saying. This is not a bug. I think it's how they made a bad decision as far as how they mapped their buttons and didn't think about that. There's a lot of stuff that in this game that feels like it was rushed, or they just didn't have quite enough time to see how it would work in practice, like the overlapping dialogue and stuff. Like these are all things that you could figure out with, enough kind of thought and just considering what your edge cases are,
So my quick question, I'm not a game designer. I don't know how all this works. How in the world do they have so many bugs off the start and they were able to fix so many within a week? Are we basically figuring out that they just did not have time to play test this?
Well, no, I think that the scripting errors and stuff are just easy patches. Things like Johnny won't, or, well, I don't want to belittle them or anything.
But that's stuff that playtesting would have seen, right? And then you could just easily fix.
It depends on it really depends on what's causing it, right? Like whatever is interfering with Johnny's scripting in the Ripper Doc quest to make him not want to talk to you or not pop up when he should,
Right.
There is something that is making that one part of the game not trigger, and who knows what it is. So it's just a matter of, I guess, isolating that and tweaking it. But yeah, as far as why it wasn't discovered, I can't speak to that. I mean, it may be that they had a much larger list of things to fix, and they just, ran out of time.
I guess. I don't know. We'll see. I'll see how I feel in 2 weeks when I hopefully finish this thing.
Yeah, and we can only speculate. I'm not I'm in software, but I'm not in game design.
Right.
So.
All right. Anything else you want to touch up on this episode?
No, we haven't talked about the story at all. At all. We've got up until the character creator. So you create your character, and I was a nomad, a female nomad. You, I'm assuming, corporal guy?
Yep.
All right. So as the nomad, you're kind of doing a run into the city that goes wrong, and you have to escape. There's like a chase sequence and stuff, and you make your way back to the city, and you meet your friends, and you're introduced to basically what is going to be for the first third of the game, your group of companions, most notably Jackie, who's a big burly Hispanic merc type fellow, brawny guy. And, loves life, very positive outlook, has taken a shining to you, takes you under his wing, for this heist, the biggest heist that you guys have ever done. And, you start establishing, and this is where I think they're doing character introductions well, which is introducing everybody as, here's this person's role. We need this person to deal with this, hacking. Right. Aspect of it, and we need this person to break us into the building, and we need this and so on, and it's a pretty audacious kind of heist, which is breaking into the headquarters of a major crime syndicate in the city and procuring a valuable artifact that you don't really know that much yet about the nature of this artifact, but it's that to me the characters and the starting premise, I got to give it props as somebody who played the pen and paper Cyberpunk back in the 90s, that it does feel very authentic to the universe and to what a standard Cyberpunk campaign book, like one of those like standalone campaign books that your DM would buy to supplement your main rulebook. That's what this feels like to me from the outset. Any thoughts on the early game? What happened with your corpo?
Not much. If I remember right, it's the exact same thing as you, but it was a meeting gone awry.
Mm-hmm.
And then you meet up with Jackie.
Yeah, it's like a smuggling. It's like a smuggling run for the nomads.
Yeah, so it's just a slight tweak to exactly what you were talking about. And that's what was really disappointing. I was excited to watch her play as something different, and it was like the exact same style of build-up, just in a different setting, which was disappointing. I like the beginning of this. I like the start up until the heist, as far as the story goes with the characters, and I just haven't liked it since. I think maybe because I'm now in that part of rebuilding with new characters, and I just haven't got there yet. Again, I just met Pan Am, which I've seen online is people's favorite character in the game. But
I'm big on Judy. I really like Judy. She's she's the sex worker.
Okay, who is the girl that teaches you the surveillance crap, where you go back and check out a scene and get evidence from that scene?
I think that was her as well.
Is that Judy? Maybe that's who I'm thinking of.
Yes, she's got the kind of blue and pink hair swept off
and
to
her
one
friends
side.
Who you go find had been having her own personal issues and got used.
Yes,
right?
so her whole quest line exactly is about taking control of that brothel.
Gotcha.
I guess I should be more specific. It's not sex. It's like cyber sex.
Right. Yeah.
So they're not really. They're just doing. I'm going to put on I'm going to plug into my brain and give you. Whatever, a substitute robot. Is it a substitute robot who like perform? I actually don't know how it works. I don't know if it's all in the mind. If it's just you're making porn, you're making cyber porn, and then distributing it. Or
I believe because there's a scene later where you have to go get a scene of these two guys meeting, and then one of them gets offed or whatever from a back alley dealer. And before this guy was trying to get some kind of a fetish. So I think that's all it is these people do the scene, they create their porn, and instead of just watching it on your screen, you put on your little headset goggle things, and then it's like you're that person.
But there's also a mission where you go to
VR thing.
There's also a mission where you go to one of these establishments and you talk to basically a surrogate who, who's like a cyborg who psychoanalyzes you while laying in bed with you. Mm-hmm. So that also seems to be a service. Yeah. I guess those are different things.
There's all sorts of things in Cyberpunk 2077.
But yes, that establishment, she's trying to. It's controlled by I think it's a Japanese. It's a Yakuza. Which, man, Yakuza in this here, aren't they? Gee,
just a little.
Yeah, it's a Yakuza organization. And she's trying to free those girls or protect those girls, and that's a good quest line. That's one of the main ones. Definitely want to follow that one to the end.
But no, as far as the story goes, I was really liking it. They were like, as you said, they were building up this like little cast of characters. If this person does this person does that, and you go around with Jackie. And I'm like, all right, cool. Here's our group. We'll add some more here and there. We'll lose some here and there, and it just feels like they've abandoned it. As where I'm at right now in the story. Oh, no. I mean, the story the awesome stuff doesn't really start until after the heist. So with the heist, it's a really cool scenario where you sneak into this Yakuza headquarters and you find yourself trapped in a modern closet, kind of in the center of this big room where a meeting is taking place, a surprise meeting that you did not anticipate. You thought you were going to be alone and would have a moment to steal the artifact. Instead, you find yourself hidden in a closet watching the head of this Yakuza family get murdered by his son, strangled, and then the son calls for the guards, claims that he was poisoned, and raises the alarm, at which point, you are the convenient scapegoat for this guy offing his dad and taking control. And you have to make it out. So you have to escape from the building, and while you're escaping, there is a back and forth where the container in which the artifact was stored gets damaged, and you have to open it up. And the artifact turns out to be a cyber chip, an experimental cyber chip, which now is rapidly failing as a result of no longer being in its secure enclosure for some reason. So Johnny has to plug it into his head
to transport it, and then Johnny gets mortally wounded, and you have to plug into your head. And at the point where you are then also shot and would have died, the artifact saves you, starts rebuilding your brain, but it does not rebuild your brain correctly. It rebuilds your brain in the image of the engram, which is imprinted onto the cyber chip. That engram being the stored personality of this rocker boy called Johnny Silverhand, played by Keanu Reeves, who now lives in your brain. At first, he tries to convince you to kill yourself, but eventually he comes to cooperate with you and find you to be a useful collaborator in achieving, well, your shared goal of separating in some way. And of course, there are different ways that throughout the game you come across different people who say that they can help you with your predicament. And none of these solutions seem quite perfect, but at the end of the game, you're going to have to choose one. But so you've got your relationship with Johnny, who lives in your mind, kind of pushing forward a lot of the rest of the story, and the urgency that you only have about 2 weeks until Johnny's engram completely wipes out your personality and overwrites you. So that really is the big core premise, at which point, now you are going out to find people who can help you with your situation. Mm-hmm. So, you go to somebody who can potentially help you break into, like there is all this research that you have to do about, there's this server farm underneath the Yakuza headquarters, and maybe I should stop talking in case you haven't gotten to any of this stuff yet. I don't know.
I'm just getting started on that kind of stuff.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. I think I'm in that lull between the heist group and that story, and now I'm building up this next group.
Do you have anything to say about Johnny? Like, what do you think about Johnny?
He's boring.
Okay. When you say boring, go on.
I think Keanu Reeves is phoning it in. Maybe that's just the way Keanu Reeves acts. I just don't find it very interesting. I don't find any of this interesting. It would be really cool because the whole point is he's in your head, and he, especially early on, he's fighting with you. It would be really cool if he takes over at some point.
I'm going to tell you, this is not a phoned-in performance by Keanu Reeves standards.
Well, it feels like it. Maybe I'm just not a fan of the character. But the whole premise is he's trying to take over, at least early on. I should have felt like I was doing stuff out of my control. I just feel like he's just a character there to talk to you so far.
But the game gives you all of these missions where it'll flash back to Johnny's past, so you can relive important moments from his life.
Yeah, none of that means
such
anything.
As his final concert before he died. Did you get to the flashback yet where you see his death? Okay.
But none of that meant anything to me.
None of that meant anything to you.
Why would that mean? Who cares about this one weird rocker dude?
Well, you should care because he now lives in your head and you've got to deal with him.
Yeah, but he doesn't do anything. He's just there to... So, the last thing I did today before we started recording is, like I said, we talked to the guy who says that you can't take it out of your head and he's basically useless and he's going to send you on your way. And then Johnny goes on this rant about the environment, about why he was going on this stuff. I'm sorry, Barrett did it better this year.
Excellent. Well, I now, though, fear that this game is doomed for you, because if you do not care about Johnny, and if you do not care about the relationship between V and Johnny, I think by the time that you get into the third act of this game will not mean anything to you.
Probably not, and it's up to whether the game can get me to like this character or care about this character. He's just there. He's done nothing. He's done absolutely nothing to make me go, okay, this character is important, or I have to help them on his quest. He's just there bitching the whole time.
See, there's some stuff that you haven't seen yet that I'm itching to talk about.
I'm hoping it changes, because I really liked up until the heist with the Jackie character.
Yeah,
I was into it. So I still believe where I'm at right now, and I know I'm ripping on this story and saying I don't care. I'm hoping that I'm just in that lull and we're building up to, like you said, there's bigger stuff that happens after the heist. I think I'm building up to it. Maybe I'll get into this Johnny character more, because again, for me, it takes time to get into characters. Like it sucks for games because you only have so much time to do things, but like I was liking the Jackie character, but his death came too early in the game for me to care, if that makes sense. Like they make this whole big funeral thing. I'm like, well, obviously V really cares about Johnny, so I understand.
They make it very clear what a close relationship is.
But if they do that, say 15 hours later into the game, then I care. about him passing, but because it was in the tutorial mission area, it's difficult. I think that's why, like in Final Fantasy VII, by the time Aerith passes away, that's 20, 30 hours into your gameplay. So now you're really hooked into these characters. I
agree. It wasn't as emotionally satisfying to me as it could have been, but I do like that moment still as a stripping away of your support network. Like as a story beat, I like it, and it kind of has to come where it is.
And I like the moment you have in the garage where you're going through his stuff, and each of the things that you find, each of the things you find brings up a story about him, and I like that character building. There's decent character building in here. I'm just in a lull right now. Where I've just met Panam, and the only character other than her right now that's a main part is Johnny, and that argument where he was talking about the environment was the first time he's shown anything other than anything for me. So
we'll save the rest.
I'm hoping he gets there.
We'll save the rest of the story for next time. And I'll just close by saying that I think this game's the greatest strike against this game, outside of the fact that it is unfinished, is the fact that it is going to get compared to The Witcher 3, and it is not The Witcher 3 in any, like, in scope, in depth, in theme. It is, however, faithful to the pen and paper Cyberpunk, at least the setting, and that is something that is hugely appealing to me so far. That's where I am.
And that's okay. And we will get to that in 2 weeks when it'll be the first chapter select of the new year, which is insane to think that we're almost to 2021. But January 8th is when we will finish up Cyberpunk. If you like our movie series, January 1st will be the first chapter select at the movies, where Jens and I will discuss the wonderfully fantastic, terrible garbage that is Resident Evil Apocalypse, the second in our little Resident Evil movie series. We just hate ourselves on that side, I think. Mm-hmm. So that will be January 1st. The second part of Cyberpunk will be January 8th, as we just keep churning these things out. Obviously, check out W2Mnet, as we're doing all sorts of end-of-the-year content, as we're doing one for our top 10 at most anticipated games of next year. And then we have a couple of podcasts to do our top 25 games of 2020. And I know Jens and I are both on all of those, right? Are you on the... I
think so.
All of them?
I still need to come up with a list.
Yeah, me too. But we're recording that tonight in real time, so that'll be out before about the same time the Cyberpunk thing comes out. I don't know.
Yep.
Scheduling gets weird around the holidays because we just record when we can. It messes things up. Mm-hmm. But for Jens, at Aperture Silence, I'm Randy, at Randy Isbell. We are at chapter_select. And if you like Cyberpunk more than me, I'm very happy for you. I'm not trying to dig on anybody that is liking this game. I promise we all can like different things, and that's cool. But until next time, when I can talk about the rest of the game and Jens can finally pop the cork on everything he wants to talk about, we will see you then. Have a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year and all of the other holidays in between.